Okay, so right now I'm starting welding the new rocker panels, and in this video what I'm gonna talk about is just how I proceed in installing them. So right now the technique I'm using is with the welder. I know I spoke about other like adhesive bonding for the panels, but in this one I'll just cover like the welding. So the first step I did, if you can look at it, I drilled the holes at the bottom. Those are going to be the spot weld. So if you look at the old one, there were a few spot weld here and there, right? But I don't think there's a lot of people having that tool at home. So what I do, I drill the holes every like 2.5 inches all the way. And from there, what I'll do when I install it, just flip it around, I'll just put it in place. The lip goes under. Just a second. So the lip goes actually under, and here I will weld all the way down. What do you do to prevent any warping? What do? You weld one corner in place and one at the bottom. You go to the middle, do the same. You weld one middle, one on top, and you keep going like that, and you do some tacks here and there and at the bottom. Once that is done, I'll show you on the other side. Once this is done, all the bottom's going to be done, right? So, well, the bottom's not going to be done right away because you only tack like 4 of them at the bottom, a few up, like you see right now. Here I had a little problem, there was a bit of rust, so there was a few holes. So what I did, I welded a bit more to the side, and I'll need to clean that. So what do you do afterward? After it's tack on top, there's a few at the bottom. You'll do like one there, one over there. You can come back, go to the other side and do the same. Why jumping around when welding? The main reason for that is because when you're welding and at the same place, the metals start to warp from the heat, and you don't want that. It's the same on top, because once this is done, I'm able to adjust the top, right? My bottom is straight, it's fine. Then I'll adjust the top and start doing some, well, not tacks, but I'll do like 1 inch to maybe 2 inch pass. So I'll just go straight. So what I do after the bottom's all done, you start there and you just do a line. You stop there and you go to the other side, do the same, and jump around back and forth. That's going to prevent warping. You see there's a division. Then it doesn't really matter, because with a hammer, once the bottom is done, I know it's straight. Once that is straight, I can actually hit with a hammer and get it closer. And it's fine, it doesn't really matter. The bottom's straight, everything's fine. Just make sure when you do the top, the first spot, make sure to just keep a pressure. And for that, those good old glove is going to protect you. They don't cost a lot, okay? Buy some. If you're welding, never do it by hand. It's a mistake. Your hands are important, and once you lose one, it's done. Or a finger, whatever. So that's it. That's the only thing you need to know if you're installing one of them. You just move around and you jump here and there. Give a few breaks to your welder, of course. And mine's a 20% duty cycle, so that means for, let's say, 10 minutes, I can use it for 2 minutes and 8 minutes of break. Usually when you do spot weld, it's actually better, because you just like me, you stop, you look, okay, okay, and you keep going. So you give it kind of a break, so you can go a bit over the 2 minutes, but don't go too far. Just make sure you know the duty cycle of your welder. So before installing, there is something that you need to do. And I got the products here. That's not important for now. Self-inching primer, we don't care really right now. It's the zinc coating. the zinc coating, the can costs, if I remember, it costs $14. Depends, I guess, the part shop around your place. It's really, really important. What you do with the zinc coating, you will shoot this everywhere you're gonna weld. So as you see right here, it's kind of silver. That's what I shot. I shot this because I'm gonna weld there. And I did the same at the bottom. So if I go on the other side, yep, right there. So I did the top and I did the bottom. I shot it. So this is gonna prevent from rusting again. But make sure you sand before and clean before, of course. In many videos I explained that. Always clean before and sand, clean again. Make sure there is no oil from your hand or anything to make reaction, because if this spill off, then you won't have any protection. And I shot it at the back of my rocker. So I shot it everywhere I'm gonna weld, inside too. And I always go over the top and I shoot the whole panel too. So it's up to you. I do it. Yeah, you don't need to do it because some people will use some epoxy primer. There is a few holes so you can actually shoot from the back. So it's up to you. Me, I shoot it all with the zinc coating. Once that is done, it is welded. Everything's in place. You will use again your zinc coating and you will shoot all your weldings, all the spot that you did. So that means at the bottom, I'm gonna shoot this all over it. Because what happened when you're welding, your metal actually oxide. So you want to protect that, that spot weld because you don't want it to rust. It creates a weakness in the metal and you don't want that. So that's gonna save your life. That's gonna make your welding last longer. It's actually really useful. There's other company than Proform that has it, so don't worry. I know Duplicolor's got a few. There's a few company on the market. And this is the other important stuff. Because there's going to be rust that you can't remove. Like I sandblasted. And you see, it's still rusty. Even though I sandblasted and sandblasted and sandblasted, it's hard for me to go after that with a grinder and clean it. And this does miracle, okay? It will actually cover and bite in the rust. Make sure you clean your rust before using it, okay? Don't use it on something dirty. Clean, sand, make sure the rust is... So once it's all clean, you use this. It takes about like 20 minutes to 30 minutes to dry. Once it's dry, it's actually like some kind of primer. It's the same as epoxy, but it's really, really gunky, okay? So keep your hands off once it's shot and just wait 45 minutes. Once it's dry, you can actually touch it with your finger. If it's still gunky, it's not ready. And this is gonna protect all your rust. Be generous, okay? Cover everything with it. So before you install your rocker panel, if there's actually rust like that, shoot it all with that. So you shoot, we're gonna weld with the zinc coating, and everything else you shoot that, okay? It's gonna help prevent. Once this is all done, everything is painted and everything's fine, you remove the back plugs. If there's no back plugs or holes like on the other side, I'm gonna show you again because seeing is believing. So if you don't have any plugs like those that actually got a back plug on the other side, drill a few of them, good enough, big enough, so you can actually shoot grease for the winter if you got winter. If not, still grease your vehicle at least once every year if you can. For bad weather, well, 2 times a year, I guess. It's up to you. So yeah, so those are important stuff. The last little warning I'm gonna give you guys, it's only gonna take a second. The self-etching primer, I know I got a can, but don't use it. This shit is contaminated. I'm gonna explain later on why. So why I don't recommend using the self-etching primer. The main reason is those type of can are contaminated with water. They are high pressure build. And what happened, you can use a primer like on your car if it's sanded, but anything that's related straight to metal, evade using this. you will contaminate your metal right away. So basically you just layered some primer over bare metal with a bit of water in between. So everywhere there's a bit of water, your primer is just gonna unstick and actually flake. Or actually it's just if your let's say your primer is really perfect, you shoot it just perfect like a glaze, it's gonna do like what I call the eggshell, like a real beautiful shell. But what happened between the metal and that eggshell, there is water and your metal is gonna rust. There is nothing protecting your metal. So this is a last resort completely. Do not use this if your intent is for more than 1 year. There is other product just like I showed you. And the other one, the gunk I was talking about, to shoot on the rust, it's perfect. Okay, this breathe a lot, so it let all the water gets away, and that sticky substance is gonna bite in the metal no matter what. Even if there is water, if the water cannot be breathed out of it, it's just gonna stay stuck in it, and the rust won't be able to progress. So try to avoid using those. And like I'm telling you, you can use the primer, and it's up to you. As long as your bare metal is protected, you'll be fine. So now on this step, like I told you, you can hammer down the lip, so that's fine when it's time to weld. But once you did all the bottom, remember that small lip that I made, that extra lip? Well, you can actually hammer it down once it's done. So as you can see, I already started, and until I reach there, up, I stop. So that's because I'm not done. I want to grind a bit my welding beforehand. But once it's all done, just keep hammering that. That will protect the back lip. This will do an edge over it. Oh, I'm shaking a bit there. So that's gonna protect the edge of the back. So that's gonna prevent a lot of shit of coming in between. So make sure you hammer it back, not too much, because if you ever need replacement, well, you'll be able to remove it. But just like I did, just mash it enough so it come at least straight on an angle of 10 to 20 degrees and towards the back. That's gonna protect it. So it's a really good thing to do. It's actually really useful, and usually all the mechanics that I went to see with a vehicle that I patched, they didn't even know that I was doing actually with the rockers, because it's completely hidden. It just looked like a normal and stock rocker panel. So maybe one last thing. So remember, this is really thin metal. Depending on the kind of welder you're using, well, no, all of them, basically all MIGs, try not to push your nozzle. Okay, this is 18 gauge. Most MIGs can only weld from 18 and more thick. 16 gauge is really thin. My rockers are always made on 18 gauge. But remember, in my truck the other day, I showed you a plate of, I got 121 and 116. And the 16, it's only for anything that I want to be really flexible, like little patch and little corners. So be careful. So what happened when you're welding on 18 or lower, let's say 16, try not to, what did I say? Okay, try not to drag your weld. I'm sorry, I think I inverted whatever I was saying. Try not to drag it, because what happened, you build up heat as you're going, and you're gonna make holes. So what you do, you go in your angle like normally when you weld, but you push it. Okay, just go forward, put it right where that gap is in between, and you make that one weld over this one, and you go. Okay, and you push it, and you stop. Just make sure you're careful when welding to make sure that you're not actually like making a hole and pushing that hole. So if you spot weld, spot, stop, look what's happening. you want to see if you're actually making a hole or actually melting it together. If you're building a hole, let's say you're making a hole, you can actually just move your gun, see where you can actually build up, and start and look, okay, and just fill back up that hole, okay? It doesn't mean because there's a hole it's done and you fucked up. You can actually like fill back that hole. So just be careful, take your time. It's really thin metal. The 18 gauge is really the smallest that I suggest for working with. Like I told you, I use the 16 for other purposes. So anything that's structural, 18 and more in the gauge, okay? Do not take any chance. So beside that, yeah, I'll keep welding, and I'll clean. After that, I'll grind every spot weld that I did. I'll finish doing my up pass. When you see actually explosion like that, there's a lot of reason you can do that. It's actually not a good sign. It's usually either because there's rust behind it and the metal's actually exploding. For me, it's because of the zinc. I shot way too much zinc, and I shouldn't have. So what's happening actually, my wire is jumping because of the amount of zinc. So I just shot a bit too much on this one. I just hope on the other one's gonna be more better. So remember, once you grind all your welding, your weld spot, and your pass, everything's done, and you grind it, shoot again the zinc, okay? The zinc coating is going to be perfect to protect your welding. So yeah, on that I'll keep going, and I hope to see you in the other video.